Hello, and welcome to another Create with Briley episode. We're going to work on the Western Friend project today. I'm sort of transitioning the channel to focus more on general creativity in addition to open source work. More on that in the future, but essentially it's a bit difficult to have multiple YouTube and Twitch channels. I'd like to just focus on the work and not a whole lot on channel management and brand management, all that kind of thing that a lot of creators focus on. Nonetheless, I'd like to share the work and include more focus on music. So I will kind of steer my main channels towards general creativity, including software, open source development, but also music, creating some albums and songs to share. So it's still, in a way, open source. These are shared on the Free Music Archive, for example, and I'm showing how the music is created. I unfortunately have not been able to commit fully to using open source tools for music creation. I've tried for over 10 years, and it was just kind of a challenge. So at least recently I've been able to share music just using proprietary tools like Logic Pro, and in recent weeks looking more into Bitwig, which is also very remarkable software. So enough of that. So let's go ahead and look at the task today. We're going to fix a bug. When we add deep archive issues on the Western Friend website, there's a display here that shows the table of contents. These are issues that go back to 1929, and they're hosted by the Internet Archive. They were print publication. Western Friend is still a print publication, but also now has the digital distribution as a first class medium. And at this point in 2006, we were just transitioning over, or I wasn't at the organization at that point, transitioning over to the digital distribution. So I think that actually came a few years later, but we have only the print documents at this point in time. That's why we're putting them in our archive. We're having them scanned by the Internet Archive, and we're going to upload them to our website. And to make it easier for people to navigate, we have this table of contents that you can click, and it'll turn to the page of the PDF. It's a bit of a kind of a tricky integration, but we're going to look at a bug here where if we don't indicate these PDF pages page number, the whole table of contents fails to load. And you'll see more of the data model as we progress. So first we're going to go over to the magazine. I'll close this one down. And we have some models here, just so we can get our bearings. If I go to the outline, we have contemporary magazine issues, which are digital and print distribution. They have articles. Then we have archive issues, which also have archive articles. Issue consists of articles. And here we can see, by way of example, the archive going back 1929. I can select the year and filter those. So obviously they didn't have digital distribution at that point. And for the most part, our data, when we migrated it over from Drupal, we had already created these issues and the corresponding articles. And they all had PDF page numbers, as well as magazine page numbers. So in the magazine, in a print document, so this is not a good example, they will have page numbers that sometimes differ from the Adobe PDF or whatever you would call it. It's just a PDF file. So for example, let's see here. Here's page 3. So this one actually works where we have page 1 is the title page. Page 2 is this sort of editorial. And page 3 has the table of contents. But in any case, these page numbers on the print, they correspond with the PDF. Inadvertently, this was accidental, or I guess it was just the habit by this editor was to count from the title. But if we go back to like 1980s, this is an interesting one. They start with page 42, so they're counting from the beginning of the volume. So, a good example is page 43 here, and page 42 from the PDF. In the PDF, my mouse is weird. This is page 1, page 2, and so we have to maintain 2 tables of content. This is where the bug resides, is why I'm pointing all this out. We'll look at that in a minute. But when I click, it should take me to the expected page. So I go to book review. I should be on page 52. Even though, and interestingly, the Internet Archive is also indicating the correct page numbers here. So there's this metadata that has to come along with it, because clearly the PDF again starts from counting from 1 here. So we had to duplicate that, and I'm not sure if we got that metadata directly from the archive. I think we manually created it last time, but the Internet Archive is also aware of the same problem. It's fundamental when you're dealing with print publications and digital displays, that you'll have this page number offset that you have to track. So in our model, we have magazine articles. They have a title, and they're relating to this issue. And they have a table of contents page number and the PDF page number. So we just have 2 integers, basically. We're keeping track of as positive integers. And we have a bug that if any if I edit this one, well, I don't want to do that. This is the live data. If any of these doesn't have the PDF page number, this whole thing won't render. So that was a bit surprising. So we're going to look at the templates here and see how I'm constructing this. And I might need to make the PDF page number a required field. I think that's the most comprehensive solution. So we need to make it so it's not nullable. And then I'm going to set a default of 1 just to get us something, some value there. Positive integer. I should probably do that with both of these, so we're going to have to fill those in. So we'll be guaranteed to have a value now. So I don't think I need any changes now to the table of contents. Aside from only rendering it, well, if there are articles, because I believe this articles field is optional. This, yeah, so let's see. We may decide not to put them to generate the table of contents. So I can just do this. If there's any, then we will display the table of contents here. I think that's all we'll need inside of this. Now these are required, so I don't quite need these indexes anymore. This is a button, so it's actually not an anchor or anything. It's just triggering some JavaScript. I would like it to focus the page on this. If you click it, it'll jump you down there, but I might leave that for a different time. Separate these out a little bit better for readability. And this should also be available. I just realized that there's not always going to be a table of contents page number, and what we're actually implying here is not just the table of contents number, we're actually implying the print page number is essentially what it is. Those don't always exist, they're not always visible, but we'll have to just infer that if this is page 42, this is page 41. That doesn't quite make sense, does it? If I make that field required, they'll have to put a value there. And it'll in turn appear here. It's not the best idea. Let me think here for a second. Well, I think it's okay. It'll appear in our table of contents. So if it's an article, it should have a page here. All right. That seems pretty good. This one, because now that they're required, I don't need the conditional, and it was this other bug. I know it wasn't really bug so much as when this wasn't rendering, this was rendering empty header, and there could be a case where we don't have any articles. So let me just ask GPT. So yeah, this is the correct way to display a section in the Django template. If such and such count checks if the count of the related content is greater than 0, then it'll render the content inside of there. So yeah, basically if we haven't added any, we're not going to display anything. Okay, I can check the JavaScript here real quick. We'll commit this and see if I can just get it to jump down. Yeah, nice. Got a little bit of clean formatting there. Sync those changes. I have this pull request already in progress. I had some troubles with my development environment, and updated the dependencies as part of this pull request. I'm the only developer here, so I'm kind of just lumping some maintenance tasks in here. It's not a good practice, and generally I wouldn't do it at work, but just trying to improve things overall. Freeze the arms race. Appeal to US and Russia. Interesting. PYM Peaceville in Chico, California. Lord David. Shirley Ruth was the editor at that point. Now it's Mary Klein, who I'm working with. Yeah, this is really important history of these documents. They're talking about a lot of important political and social dynamics and issues that were going on through the lives of friends, mostly in the Western United States, but also these are global issues. So yeah, and just trying to make them publicly available. Peace testimony. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Ben Seaver. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, see that works. Jumps you right there. Page 50. Goes back to the 17th century. England was engaged in a civil war, and there was a considerable number of men under arms on both sides. During the same period, piracy on the high seas was common, so that all merchant vessels armed their sailors as a defense against pirate attack. Many of these soldiers and sailors found their way to friends' meetings. Peace testimonies were recognized and acted upon years before the Religious Society of Friends put it into words. According to his journal, George Fox, as early as 1651, had expressed his absolute refusal to take part in the war. Interesting. That year he was imprisoned at Derby for blasphemy. His jailer, recognizing Fox as natural leader of men, offered him freedom if he would accept captaincy in Cromwell's army. Wow. Fox refused that offer, stating that he lived in the virtue, that life and power that took away occasion of all wars. This lived in the virtue of that life and power that took away all the occasion, or the occasion for all wars. So the life and the power. Now that's taking away all the occasion for war is a pretty profound thing, and we have not lived up to that. Seems almost impossible. The peace testimonies become a central aspect of Quakers' witness in the world. In recent years, most friends have spent time in prison have done so because of their opposition to the war system. The basis of the peace testimony arises out of our experience that the nature of God and what this requires of our lives are to bear true witness. Emphasizes much more on the divine spirit in man, which makes war impossible for him. And not so much on the physical evil that war brings in its train. So yeah, this is really interesting. Light shining into the depths of Quaker philosophy and testimony, and the life and times of friends in the Western United States, going back to 1929. All right, so we've committed those changes, and I think I have just a little bit of JavaScript here. Where's that? Could be in this same template. Yeah, here we are. Okay. So on the turn page, so we get the element ID, and it's the archive PDF viewer. If I get a reference to it, and we'll scroll it into view. So since I have a reference here, I don't need to do that again. I can just put that here. Okay. Maybe it'll work. I'm not really going to test it. I'm a bit lazy this morning. I would have to create, I don't know, some dummy data and an item with a sufficiently long table of contents. That would make sense for it to jump down there. I'll test it. Well, let's see. Okay. So, oh, and this is failing something. Test and coverage failing. This could be that non-deterministic test. Email, yeah, this one I don't know how to make it deterministic or have a lower likelihood of having a key collision. I guess just generating a random number between 1 and 100 would really reduce the likelihood of that key collision. All right. So we have it running locally. We don't have it running locally. Now we do. I need to do that. Oh man. That's weird. Okay, that's okay. Well, this is a testing. I think I just need to set debug is true. Oh, come on. There we go. Ooh, nice. It's looking good. How do I disable that? Just disable. I always want to disable it. It's a test password. All right, so this is the Wagtail admin. It's a really advanced and user-friendly content management system for Django. And what we're going to do is just use it here to create a magazine, an archive issue. I'm gonna have to set up a development browser. I get it. $19.99 ASDF. No, let's grab it. Let's grab it. So we'll actually render something. And I just need to add a bunch of these. Oops, not those though. Publish those. View it live. It renders it. But it doesn't jump down there. So let's see what happened. Inspect. Well, first, can I just do it manually, right? Oh, I see what happened. Then we can do this. So we grab a reference to it, we set the attribute, and then we scroll into view. Reload that. So if I go like this, does it work? Boom. Let's do this. See if that works. Refresh. Command Shift R. Chrome's gonna complain. I might be able to disable this Chrome. So it's the sync and Google services. Safe browsing. There we go. All right, so now I can refresh. And boom. Let's just check if we get anyone there. Ah, this is the wrong place. Yep. That's okay. Let's do this again. So I might not need the container. I'll just go back to how it was before. Just test that it works. So that works. Discard these. That's the weird thing. Does it consider that it's in view because it's down here? I wish I could just lock that to one desktop. I don't want it to appear on other desktops. Code you provided is JavaScript, not Django HTML. Yeah, it's an example of setting the source attribute of the PDF viewer and then the scroll element to view. However, there's a mistake in the code. Scroll in the view method should be called on an element itself, not the result of said attribute. Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting. That makes sense. Didn't quite understand how that pipe was working, but yeah. I thought I was chaining on that. But no, yeah, this is returning something. All right, yeah, cool. So I had the code kind of working correctly earlier. It was defined earlier when I was getting the element and then applying some logic to it. Boom! Yes, good thing I tested locally. It wasn't working. I was totally in the wrong place. It would have wasted my time. All right, boink. Nice, really good. Let's just test it again with the full screen approach. What about now? Yeah, still does it. Oh yes, this is nice. Nice touch. All right, little bonus. And let's just rename this. Let's see. Okay. Couldn't use my multiple cursor there. There we go. So I think that's about it for this session of live code. I'll do a recap. Let's see why we're not passing here. What's going on? Still tests are failing. They're just determinist, oh, whatever. There's a collision there. This key. Creating 200 users. That's the problem. So I want to make it less prone to collision there. The faker library generates random data, and while it's unlikely, it's possible for it to generate a CMA email address more than once. This is happening a lot. This test is failing a lot. To reduce the chance of collisions, you can append a unique identifier to each email. One way to do that is a sequence function provided by Factory Boy, which generates a unique number for each instance. This code will generate email addresses like such and such. So we're using the create batch. Yes, the sequence number will work in the context of create batch. The factory sequence and factory generates the new value for each instance created, regardless whether you're creating a single instance or a batch of instances. So if you have your thingamabob, all right, cool beans. Let's try it out. Now I don't know that this is at something. So this is an F string. The free email domain is a provider in the Faker library. It generates random free email domain. The generated domain will be a string representing free email domain. Gmail, Yahoo. Okay. All right. Control-C-L. We'll test the accounts. Found 8 tests. Make sure it still runs. This one's been kind of plaguing me for a little bit here. It's just running, failing a lot, and I have to rerun the tests. So there we go. All right. Pretty opaque, but okay. Like I'm saying, as a solo developer, I can kind of lump in a bunch of these sort of maintenance changes, but I wouldn't have a pull request at work that does changes so many files and has different purposes. These are unrelated changes. I just don't really want to, right now, open a bunch of pull requests for these refactors. Like over here, I'm updating dependencies, fixing a factory bug that's affecting our tests, creating restoring a CLI command that I needed to set up my development environment. That's actually part of our documentation, and I had deleted without noticing it when kind of cleaning up the project code. All those changes relating to that. Then I'm making changes to the database model that's addressing the particular bug I'm looking into, and then cleaning up our template code, and this is dependency update again. So yeah, you can see it's a mixed bag, about 3 different things that I could justify having 3 separate pull requests for. Although the fixing the tests one could be just included in whatever pull request maybe the tests are breaking. It's a one-liner, so it doesn't really justify a whole pull request in a way, but dependencies should be updated more like separately, more conventionally. Let's see if it passes. It looks like because it was randomly, it's non-deterministic and it passes and fails arbitrarily. But this one should be more consistently passing. Huh, dang it. Faker object has no attribute generate. How did that not? I ran the tests. Maybe I didn't run the correct tests. I think that was the problem. All right. Well, in any of these then should. Pagination. Okay, so then there we go. Nice. I don't know if I will. Well, these are probably symptoms of being a solo developer and being sloppy with my pull requests in the work, but I don't remember removing that. It's only used on this one place. I'm surprised this has not been caught on my my IDE sooner, or my lint. I have pre-commit running. Factory. I think here's what happened. Pip install requirements.dev didn't install. That includes my factory and probably the Django stubs extension. There we go. All right, now to the issue at hand. Need to run these pagination tests. Subscription page. No, a bunch of them, but these are the pagination ones here. They all have the same problem. I just moved my mouse there. I'm going to lock it to the main display. There we go. Now I can ask my magic little helper. I'll highlight that. And I can see it here. That's white, so that's not working. Generate method's not a part of the Faker library. Okay, a little bit of a hallucination there. Why don't I just do this? Why don't I just do this? This doesn't matter, but I'm just curious what it suggests. I'm always using example.com. At test.com would be good. But yeah. However, if you want to generate random free email domains, you can use for free. It didn't exist. It's a hallucination. All right. So, factory sequence lambda user and example.com. User. Fake. What have I changed here? Only this. I see. Don't need this anymore. Plus the imports are right there. I see what happened. I really have to read the output of these LLMs. Gosh, you have to be able to understand it. I don't see them replacing us because we have to pay attention. We have to fix the output at the very least. It means we have to understand it. But at the same time, it's just like copying and pasting stuff from Stack Overflow. You have to really pay close attention to the context. Now, I think it has a diff mode. Maybe I hit this button and it just pops it in there. Insert a cursor. More actions. Terminal. Because I think I had just clicked on, I don't remember which one I clicked on. Probably this one, no. Clicked on one that had the, I think I clicked on that though, or that, and it did the imports too in the wrong place. Okay, tests are passing. Good. At test.com. How about W? We'll use our own domain there. Okay, so fix that. I don't quite care that domain name. I just need something there. And the key change was here to use the sequence. That was what we were after, to make these collisions less, or never happen, essentially. All right. Went out of scope, but these are important changes. And while I'm here, let me just double check what, I was getting notices on the Wagtail dashboard that says we're still not running the latest Wagtail. Let's try updating everything again. Then we can get to some music. I'll take a break for a little bit, still not lunchtime yet, and come back and do a little bit of music, live stream. I think I'll finish a track in Logic and then do some Bitwig a little bit later, if not today, hopefully soon. All right, see, this is not picking up the 6.0.1 release for whatever reason. Let's see if we got some other, just these warnings. Yeah, this bug just came in 13 hours ago. What's going on is, I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, we have this archive going back to 1929, and the most recent issues are from like maybe 2008. For some reason, we're adding an issue from 2006. So what's happening is we've got another batch of more recent issues that have been processed by the Internet Archive. They actually scan them all, digitize it, optical character recognition, all that stuff. It's really amazing what these can do. You can highlight the text, and then we get a CSV back from them. So you can see here, when I go here, I can actually change it to one-page view. I can actually just highlight this text here. I can like copy it, paste it. It's amazing. It'll read it aloud. It's not coming out of that, but here. Anyway. That's pretty cool, and you can change the voice and stuff. Huh. It's even got a Karen voice. Martha! It's not the best quality, but here you go. Anyway, I recommend you check it out. So since this is all indexed, you know, you can search for it. You can search for particular words within there. And then it shows you the piece, testimonies, it highlights everything. It's really cool what they're doing. It's really advanced stuff. The Internet Archive is such an important organization. I really hope that they survive and thrive. I know they've made some missteps, in my opinion, with the lending library and really going up heavy against the publishing industry. I believe it was not, it jeopardized the whole thing, their whole initiative, and it wasn't probably worth it. It's a bit dangerous, and also the amount of just random kind of things that are being uploaded there is a bit problematic. There's just general concern for copyright, which I'm not like a big copyright evangelist or whatever. I'm very interested in free culture, but at the same time, I think we have to sort of honor some kind of copyright law and just understand how it works and work within the bounds and do what I can, for example, to publish things that are a little bit less restrictive, more permissive, in other words. But that doesn't mean I can just disregard copyright law. That would be a foolish decision. And I think the Internet Archive kind of flouted that in their nonprofit status and their mission, but nonetheless, we'll see how it pans out in court. It jeopardizes some really important work they're doing, but also might develop new case law, such as the scanning and archival of just public websites from their Wayback Machine. It's not a simple issue, but I can see some great value here, and it wasn't able to, unfortunately. It even scanned that. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Wow. Dear Mr. President, I'm 12 years old and life has been okay for me so far, but many other Americans, life won't be okay if there's nuclear war. That's true. Let's see what we get here. Okay. So it didn't scan that very well. But I can like highlight it, so it's interesting. Wow. I want to live to at least 80. Very cool. So did we pass? We passed. All right, so let's do a quick recap here. The best we can do, given the time constraints. All right, so what can we close out? There's that. Well, this is the issue I'm working on. Here's the deep archive for context. I don't quite need that. There's the pull request and my notifications. And we'll give an example here of the particular issue. Okay. So what are we at? What's the time here? 1:02, so just after 1 hour. All right, not bad actually. Let's put up this be right back screen and then come back and do a recap, and we'll continue a bit later with some music. Hello, welcome to a recap of today's open source hangout. In this session, we worked on the Western Friend website. The source code is available on github.com/westernfriend, and it's in the westernfriend.org repository. It's the source code of the Western Friend website we can see here, running locally. And here's the feature we were working on today. In this deep archive, we have issues of this Western Friend magazine. Let me reload this real quick. Going back to 1929, when it was called the Friends Bulletin. We've been archiving issues from 1929 to 2008. It was a bulk project in partnership with the Internet Archive. And what they do is we send them boxes of these print documents, and they scan them. It looks like there's some issues right now. It's not rendering. And they send us back a CSV of the data from the scan result. This includes kind of articles that appear in the PDF and the page numbers, as far as I recall, and author names. We are assembling this. They might just include the identifiers, and I think we maybe actually, now that I remember, is the process is they send us back the archive identifiers for each of the issues, and we generate data to populate the table of contents, and in turn we can then embed, using the identifier, we can embed this little interactive PDF viewer and browser here. Ben Lomond, Quaker Center, it's a nice place. And we have this table of contents that when you click an article, it will turn to that page. It's a bit slow. Nonetheless, it should work. We should see the article coming up here shortly. There was a bug today that was reported that when we added one of the newer issues from 2006, loaded in the data, and the table of contents didn't render. It was just a blank screen, section of the page, sorry. And turned out there was an underlying bug in the back end, and I've fixed that along with a few other changes. So I'll just really quickly recap the changes that we did today. It's been a little bit since I've been developing this project, so I lumped a few maintenance tasks in with the core changes. It's not necessarily a good practice, but as a solo developer on a small open source project for a nonprofit, I'm kind of just trying to get things improved and not worrying too much about practicalities that would normally come out of peer review. So I've got some dependency updates. We're using pre-commit here to help us keep our code clean. We're linting it and sorting things and doing a few other, we're upgrading our syntax to use the latest features from Python and Django. And that's all done. Every time I commit, it just runs checks on the files that I'm editing to make sure I'm following best practices. There's been a recurring bug in our unit tests where we have to generate fake data, and there's been collisions. This is a unique field on the user model. The email should be unique, only one user assigned to each email. So I needed to make a small change. I can't just generate an email. I have to ensure that it's unique, because this will generate the same email. If you generate like 200 users or so, there's some likelihood of there being a collision. It's very low, maybe 1% of the time, but it's been a recurring bug. So here we use a sequence number that guarantees uniqueness. And we just needed an email domain there. Yeah, so that was it. This is the first time I've set up my development environment on this new computer, and I realized that I had inadvertently deleted a command line command, CLI command that we are using here to scaffold the development environment. So I just I created an app called CLI, and where we can define these management commands. And I restored a management command, and I'm maybe going to write tests for it, but not today. I restored this scaffold initial content command. It's basically setting up an initial development environment with all the base pages that we have, the site structure, so that we can start working with a ready to roll site. And I didn't write this code today. It's just old code that I had accidentally deleted when I was cleaning up some old migration code. And here I just added that to our site settings. The core change here was essentially relating to the archive article model. An archive issue are these older issues that date back to 1929. They have an issue that consists of articles. Those articles have page numbers, and there's two types of page numbers here. Something's up with the Internet Archive, but I'll try to explain this briefly. We have what's called a table of contents page number, and that's the page number you would see that we render here in the table of contents, and that you would kind of see when browsing the articles, the issue. You'll see it here. Here's page number 3, and this one happens to correspond with another field called the PDF page number, which the PDF page always starts from the cover, or from the first page of the PDF. It doesn't matter if it's a cover or not. It's page 1, page 2, and page 3. And now this one happens, as I mentioned, to match. But there were other examples that didn't match up. I think if I go back to the 80s it was, and let's double check. There was a period of time where they were publishing volumes and issues. And so this one, see, it starts at page 42 in the table of contents, because we're in a page 42 of volume number 50. I don't know. So that is an example of how the PDF and the table of contents would differ. The PDF, this is page 1, and this is page 2, but in the print and table of contents here, It starts at page 42. All right, so that's just a bit of background on why we have these two fields. And I'll point out the Internet Archive also is aware of this issue, of course, being archivists, and they have a process in place to correctly display the page number as you would see it in the document. So it's just less confusing for humans, I guess. Say page 43, and here I'm basically there we go. I'm at page 43 now. Interesting it is. So we have these two fields, table of contents page number and PDF page number, for the reason just illustrated. And they were both optional, nullable, and so to prevent us from omitting those by accident, which was the problem here, that when we added the new archive issue, we had omitted the PDF page number. Now they're required, so we can't really do that. They default to 1, so at least it'll have a value there. It's a positive integer. So you'll have to set that value, otherwise it'll just link to the front page. So that's it. I updated the model, and then while I was here, I did a couple of other things. If we don't add any articles in an archive issue, it won't display a table of contents. It doesn't make sense to do that. So that was just a small improvement I made while here, and these are kind of just cleaning up the code a little bit, changing the indentation, and removing some conditionals where now that the page numbers are required, we don't have to check that they're there. It'll always be there. One other thing I changed is when you click on one, it can be kind of confusing. If I don't realize something happened, I see this flash down here that it's like changing the page number. It's not really quite working, but I have to kind of scroll down to see what happened. If I do number 56, now these buttons aren't working. Thank you very much. The Internet Archive is having some troubles in the background. I'm really worried about that initiative. I think they might be having a lot of server load. They're taking on quite a lot of content, and they're also in legal battles with major publishers due to some decision basically during COVID to allow anybody to borrow copyrighted materials. And in general, I think the Internet Archive isn't really kind of putting itself at risk of mass copyright violation through not only the Wayback Machine, scanning and archiving, the whole internet, which is a great initiative, an important initiative, but also things like their lending library, and they're just allowing arbitrary content to be uploaded with very little, from what I can tell, in the way of moderation, not only for copyright, but also of like the types of content people are uploading. I just think they're at really big jeopardy, being a nonprofit organization even. They're risking the whole initiative by flouting copyright law. I'm a free culture advocate, but I've taken a lot of time to sort of understand how intellectual property laws work and how to allow the things I create to be more freely shared and modified. I really value services like the Internet Archive. So that's a big aside. I don't know what the delays here are relating to copyright issues, but more probably infrastructure problems, which the infrastructure is a massive cost as well, I'm sure. So the fix is basically, instead of being a little bit confused, I clicked here, I see now at the bottom of the screen a flash, and it took me to the page. Well, here I've got a test page that essentially it'll now it'll scroll there. So even if these are all page 1, it's going to go there, but it scrolls down to the viewer. It's a bit, taking me a bit far here, but it's not perfect, I guess. But there it is. You'll go to the thing, you might have to scroll up just a little bit. So to change that, I just got a reference to the PDF viewer, and setting the attribute to the news source was already there, and that means that it's going to load in the particular page number here. It will load that in and then scroll into view. That was about it. Here is dependency update, and that was the main change though to this file here. to control the display of the table of contents and scroll the PDF reader into view when you click the button, as well as changing the field validation. Okay, this has been another open source live code hangout. I'm going to start transitioning this channel into a more creative mode rather than focusing exclusively on open source stuff. I'll be creating some music and maybe other types of media, but mainly music, and sharing those in free culture websites like the Free Music Archive and SoundCloud. So I won't be focusing so exclusively on software development, but I don't want to manage multiple channels, as that's a bit time consuming. So I hope you're enjoying the open source work, and maybe we'll like to take a look into some creative music activities. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day, and I hope you're doing well.